ancient Egyptian history, few names are as famous as that of Pharaoh Ramses I, also known as Ramses the Great. His reign was one of the most prominent and longest in Egypt, lasting approximately 66 years. Along the banks of the Nile, Ramses built his empire upon the sands of Egypt. Born in 1303 BCE, he was the son of Seti I and Queen Tuya. Ramses not only inherited the throne, but also the responsibility to ensure the security and prosperity of his kingdom in a world fraught with threats. From a young age, Ramses accompanied his father on military campaigns, learning the arts of war and the secrets of Egyptian military strategy. By the age of 14, he marched alongside Egyptian warriors in Libya and Palestine, preparing for the significant role that awaited him. At 22, Ramses led his own campaigns in Nubia alongside his two sons, demonstrating military skill and determination that impressed even the most experienced generals of his army. In 1290 BCE, Ramses inherited a kingdom beset by conflicts and external threats, particularly from the powerful Hittites, who extended their influence over the region of Asia Minor, challenging Egyptian hegemony. Under the reign of King Suppiluliuma I, Egypt lost important commercial centers in Syria and Canaan. Determined to restore his kingdom's glory, Ramses embarked on a series of military campaigns to protect his borders, secure trade routes, and reclaim lost territories from the Hittites. One of the most notable moments of Ramses' reign was his victory over pirates threatening the Nile shores, known as the Shurden. These warriors were defeated in a fierce battle where the Egyptian pharaoh employed clever tactics to achieve victory. Many Shurden captives were integrated into the Egyptian army, serving as Ramses' bodyguards, highlighting his diplomatic and military prowess in turning adversaries into allies. Throughout Ramses' reign, the Egyptian army grew considerably, reaching about 100,000 soldiers. This formidable force strengthened Egypt's influence and protected its borders. To accommodate this large army, Ramses ordered the construction of a grand city named Pi-Ramesses, even before 1275 BCE. This city, located in the eastern delta near the ancient city of Avaris, became not only the kingdom's capital, but also a strategic military complex, an architectural marvel, rivaling the greatness of ancient Egyptian capital Thebes. In 1275 BCE, Ramses undertook the construction of Pi-Ramesses, a city intended to serve as a fortified military complex rather than just a military center. It was an architectural wonder that rivaled the greatness of the ancient Egyptian capital of Thebes. Its construction was so impressive that some scholars suggest it might have begun during the reign of Ramses' father, Seti I, but it flourished under Ramses' command, becoming a symbol of power and prosperity. The Battle of Kadesh was a pivotal moment for Ramses, where with a well-equipped and prepared army, he marched towards Canaan to confront the Hittites who dominated the region. The military campaign was successful, and Ramses returned with riches and prisoners. However, he was also determined to reclaim the strategically important city of Kadesh, disputed between the two empires, the Egyptian and the Hittite. Around the end of 1275 BCE, Ramses prepared his army for the decisive battle at Kadesh. Leading about 20,000 men, Ramses launched an attack to reclaim the city for Egypt. His army, fueled by faith in the Egyptian gods, bravely marched towards the battlefield. After months of marching, Ramses reached the outskirts of Kadesh, planning his attack. However, an event disrupted his plans: the capture of Hittite spies who, under torture, revealed false information about the Hittite army's location. This misinformation led Ramses to underestimate the proximity of the enemy. While organizing his camp, the Egyptian army was surprised by the Hittites emerging from the walls of Kadesh, launching a fierce attack. One of the divisions of the Egyptian army, led by Ramses himself, was caught off guard, with its lines broken and infantry massacred by Hittite cavalry. Amid the chaos, Ramses rallied his troops and led a courageous counterattack against the enemy. He fought his way through the ranks of Hittites, breaking the siege and allowing the Egyptians to escape the trap. Afterward, Ramses managed to push the enemy towards the Orontes River, inflicting heavy losses as the Hittites attempted to escape. However, this strategy left Ramses in a precarious position, trapped between the enemy and the river. Despite the imminent danger, Ramses demonstrated courage and composure, facing the threat of annihilation by Hittite forces. He gathered his forces and launched a decisive counterattack, driving the enemy from the battlefield. There are varying opinions on the final outcome of the battle, ranging from an Egyptian victory to a draw or even an Egyptian defeat. Egyptologists suggest that Egyptian accounts might have been propaganda. Nonetheless, the Hittite army retreated, and the Egyptians failed to capture the city of Kadesh. Years later, Ramses negotiated a peace treaty with the Hittites. He met with King Hattusili III at Kadesh to conclude a peace agreement around 1258 BCE. This treaty, recorded in two versions, one in Egyptian hieroglyphs and the other in Hittite cuneiform, marked the importance of this pact. The 18 articles of the treaty aimed for peace between Egypt and the Hittites, showing the willingness of both peoples to favor peace. While the exact borders were not detailed, the treaty established a lasting truce between the two empires, suggesting stability in the region. During his reign, Ramses also erected grand monuments, but also claimed and destroyed works of previous pharaohs. For example, one of the most controversial chapters of his reign was his participation in the destruction of temples in the city of Amarna. These temples were the last vestiges of the Aten era, the pharaoh who attempted to establish Aten as the sole supreme deity. Ramses ordered the demolition of these structures, reusing the stone blocks in another Egyptian city. In 2013, Egyptian and German archaeologists made a notable discovery during excavations near the Great Temple dedicated to Ramses, a red granite statue of Ramses I. This monumental statue with hieroglyphs at its base is a significant addition to his legacy. Regarding his family life, Ramses had several wives, with Queen Nefertari being his favorite and first wife. Though her life was short, her influence was immense. Like other queens before her, Nefertari played a crucial role in negotiations with neighboring peoples, especially the Hittites. She bore Ramses' first son, Amenophis, and together they had at least 3 sons and 2 daughters, as documented by research. Nefertari's tomb in the Valley of the Queens is one of the most famous, adorned with mural paintings that underscore her importance in Egyptian society at the time. Even after her death, Ramses continued to honor her memory, immortalizing her image on walls and statues throughout the kingdom. The biblical Exodus is often associated with Ramses I as the Pharaoh, but this idea lacks historical and biblical evidence. While it's true that a city named Ramses is mentioned in some passages of the Old Testament, for example, Exodus 1:11, Exodus 12, this isn't sufficient to confirm Ramses' identity as the Pharaoh associated with the Exodus. One reason is that there was already a land called the Land of Ramses, mentioned in Genesis 47:11 during the time of Jacob and Joseph, who lived about 500 years before Ramses' reign. Archaeological excavations in Egypt, including sites like Ramses, revealed that construction projects during Ramses II's reign employed Egyptian workers who were either paid or volunteers, but there's no evidence that Ramses used Hebrew slaves in his constructions, such as the construction of the city Ramses. Additionally, the construction of the city of Ramses, mentioned in the Bible, began about 80 years before the Exodus, even before the birth of Moses. Historians estimate that Ramses I ruled for approximately 66 years, meaning his reign was not long enough to have built the city and also participated in the Hebrew Exodus. Evidence suggests the Exodus occurred around 200 years before Ramses' reign, around 1513 BCE. Finally, around 1213 BCE, Ramses passed away, already over 90 years old. Like many pharaohs before him, he was buried in the Valley of the Kings, where the tombs of the leaders of Egypt's new kingdom were located. His mummy was discovered in a collective tomb in 1888 and transferred to the Egyptian Museum in Cairo in 1885, remaining one of the museum's most notable attractions. Ramses' monumental achievements and political and military dominance shaped the course of Egyptian history, making him one of the most famous pharaohs in history.